Gurvabhishtam Supurakam Gurganara Sishasambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samastaveda Nipunam Shirupa Patanugam Govindabhidam Ujvalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Mande Vishwagurum Cha Divyat Bhagavat Premna Vibijapradam Devam Divyatanum Suchandavaranam Balarka Chelansitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Mandetam Shubhadam Madeka Sharanam Nashishvara Shridaram Manshakopatarubyasya Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Continuing with our reading of the cleansing of the Gundicha Temple. So now I'm reading a purport where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives commentary on the understanding of the devotee of the significance of the Gundicha Temple cleaning. So this verse is in Madhya-lila chapter 12, the cleansing of the Gundicha Temple, verse number 135. Emata puradwara agepata jat sakala shodila taha ke varnibe khat. Outside the gateway of the temple, all the roads were also cleansed, and no one could tell exactly how this was done. In commenting on the cleansing of the Gundicha Temple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the world leader, was personally giving instructions on how one should receive Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, within one's cleansed and pacified heart. If one wants to see Krishna seated in his heart, he must first cleanse the heart, as prescribed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his Sikshastika, Chaito Darpana Marjanam. In this age, everyone's heart is especially unclean, as confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Ridi Antasto Yabhadrani. And to wash away all dirty things accumulated within the heart, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised everyone to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. The first result will be that the heart is cleansed, Chaito Darpana Marjanam. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam confirms this statement. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridiyanta sto yabhadrani virunoti surit sutam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who relishes his messages, which are themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. If a devotee at all wants to cleanse his heart, he must chant and hear the glories of the Lord, Sri Krishna, Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna. This is a simple process. Krishna himself will help cleanse the heart because he is already seated there. Krishna wants to continue living within the heart, and the Lord wants to give directions, but one has to keep his heart as clean as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kept the Gundicha Temple. The devotee therefore has to cleanse his heart just as the Lord cleansed the Gundicha Temple. In this way, one can be pacified and enriched in devotional service. If the heart is filled with straw, grains of sand, weeds, or dust, in other words, anyabhilasha purna, one cannot enthrone the Supreme Personality of Godhead there. The heart must be cleansed of all material motives brought about through fruitive work, speculative knowledge, the mystic yoga system, and so many other forms of so-called meditation. The heart must be cleansed without ulterior motive. As Srila Rupa Goswami says, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavritam. In other words, there should not be any external motive. One should not attempt material upliftment, understanding the Supreme by speculative knowledge, fruitive activity, severe austerity and penance, and so on. All these activities are against the natural growth of spontaneous love of Godhead. As soon as these are present within the heart should be understood to be unclean and therefore unfit to serve as Krishna's sitting place. We cannot perceive the Lord's presence in our hearts unless our hearts are cleansed. A material desire is explained as a desire to enjoy the material world to its fullest extent. In modern language, this is called economic development. An inordinate desire for economic development is considered to be like straws and grains of sand within the heart. If one is overly engaged in material activity, the heart will always remain disturbed. As stated by Narottam Das Thakur, Samsara Vishanale Diva Nishi Hiyajwale Judaite na koinu upai. In other words, endeavor for material opulence is against the principle of devotional service. Material enjoyment includes activities such as great sacrifices for auspicious activity, charity, austerity, elevation to the higher planetary system, and even living happily within the material world. Oh, very nice. Material enjoyment includes activities such as great sacrifices for auspicious activity, charity, austerity, elevation to the higher planetary system, and even living happily within the material world. Modernized material benefits are like the dust of material contamination. When this dust is agitated by the whirlwind of fruitive activity, it overcomes the heart. Thus, the mirror of the heart is covered with dust. There are many desires to perform auspicious and inauspicious activities, but people do not know how life after life they are keeping their hearts unclean. One who cannot give up the desire for fruitive activity is understood to be covered by the dust of material contamination. Karmis generally think that the interaction of fruitive activities can be counteracted by another karma or fruitive activity. This is certainly a mistaken conception. If one is deluded by such a conception, he is cheated by his own activity. Such activities have been compared to an elephant's bathing. An elephant may bathe very thoroughly, but as soon as it comes out of the river, it immediately takes some sand from the land and throws it all over its body. I saw that when I was in St. Petersburg. They at the temple there, and they had some program, and they had some elephants, and after the program, the riders of the elephants took the elephants nearby to, I believe it's, I don't know if it's the Baltic, I believe, the sea, and with the riders on the elephants, they went into the water so that the elephants could bathe themselves. And then after the elephants were washed, they came out and they began with their trunks and everything throwing dust all over themselves and also all over the riders. So an elephant may bathe very thoroughly, but as soon as it comes out of the water, it immediately takes some sand from the land and throws it all over its body. If one suffers due to his past fruitive activities, he cannot counteract his suffering by performing auspicious activities. The sufferings of human society cannot be counteracted by material plans. The only way these sufferings can be mitigated is by Krishna consciousness. When one takes to Krishna consciousness and engages himself in the devotional service of the Lord, beginning with chanting and hearing the glories of the Lord, the cleansing of the heart begins. When the heart is actually cleansed, one can clearly see the Lord sitting there without any disturbance. In Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord confirms that he sits within the heart of the pure devotee. Sadavo hridayam mayam sadunam hridayam tvaham. Impersonal speculation, monism, merging into the existence of the Supreme, speculative knowledge, mystic yoga, and meditation are all compared to grains of sand. They simply cause irritation to the heart. No one can satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by such activities, nor do we give the Lord a chance to sit in our hearts peacefully. Rather, the Lord is simply disturbed by them. Sometimes yogis and jnanis in the beginning take to the chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra as a way to begin their virtuous practices. But when they falsely think that they have attained release from the bondage of material existence, they give up chanting. They do not consider that the ultimate goal is the form of the Lord or the name of the Lord. Such unfortunate creatures are never favored by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for they do not know what devotional service is. Lord Krishna describes them in the Bhagavad Gita in this way. Tanaham dvishata kruran samsareshu naradaman chipami ajasram ashubhan ashurish veva eva yonishu. Those who are envious and mischievous, or the lowest among men, I perpetually cast into the ocean of material existence, into various demoniac species of life. By his practical example, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown us that all the grains of sand must be picked up thoroughly and thrown outside. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the outside of the temple, fearing that the grains of sand would again come within. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explains that even though one may become free from the desire for fruitive activity, sometimes the subtle desire for fruitive activity again comes into being within the heart. One often thinks of conducting business to improve devotional activity, but the contamination is so strong that it may later develop into misunderstanding, described as kutinati, fault-finding, and pratishtatsa, the desire for name and fame and for high position, jiva himsa, envy of other living entities, nishidachar, accepting things forbidden in the Shastra, kama, desire for material gain, and puja, hankering for popularity. The word kutinati means duplicity. As an example of pratishtasa, one may attempt to imitate Srila Haridas Thakur by living in a solitary place. One's real desire may be for name and fame. In other words, one thinks that fools will accept one to be as good as Haridas Thakur just because one lives in a solitary place. These are all material desires. A neophyte devotee is certain to be attacked by other material desires as well, namely desires for women and money. In this way, the heart is again filled with dirty things and becomes harder and harder, like that of a materialist. Gradually, one's desire to become a reputed devotee, one desires to become a reputed devotee or an avatar incarnation. Gradually, one desires to become a reputed devotee or an avatar incarnation. The word jivahimsa, envy of other living entities, actually means stopping the preaching of Krishna consciousness. Preaching work is described as paropakar, welfare activity for others. Those who are ignorant of the benefits of devotional service must be educated by preaching. If one stops preaching and simply sits down in a solitary place, he is engaging in material activity. If one desires to make a compromise with the Mayavadis, he is also engaged in material activity. A devotee should never make compromises with non-devotees. By acting as a professional guru, mystic yogi, or miracle man, one may cheat and bluff the general public and gain fame as a wonderful mystic. But all this is considered to be dust, straw, and grains of sand within the heart. In addition, one should follow the regulative principles and not desire illicit sex, gambling, intoxicants, or meat. To give us practical instructions, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cleansed the temple twice. His second cleansing was more thorough. The idea was to throw away all the stumbling blocks on the path of devotional service. He cleansed the temple with firm conviction, as is evident from his using his own personal garments for cleansing. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to see personally that the temple was thoroughly cleansed to the standard of clean marble. Clean marble gives a cooling effect. Devotional service means attaining peace from all disturbances caused by material contamination. In other words, it is the process by which the mind is cooled. The mind can be peaceful and thoroughly cleansed when one no longer desires anything but devotional service. Even though all dirty things may be cleansed away, sometimes subtle desires remain in the mind for impersonalism, monism, success, and the four principles of religious activity, dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. All these are like spots of unclean cloth. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also wanted to cleanse away all. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also wanted to cleanse all these away. By his practical activity, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu informed us here to cleanse our hearts. Once the heart is cleansed, we should invite Lord Sri Krishna to sit down, and we should observe the festival by distributing prasadam and chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to teach every devotee by his personal behavior. Everyone who spreads the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepts a similar responsibility. The Lord was personally chastising and praising individuals in the course of the cleansing, and those who are engaged as acharyas must learn from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu how to train devotees by personal example. The Lord was very pleased with those who could cleanse the temple by taking out undesirable things accumulated within. This is called anartha nivritti, cleansing the heart of all unwanted things. Thus the cleansing of the Gundicha Temple was conducted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to let us know how the heart should be cleansed and soothed to receive Lord Sri Krishna and enable him to sit within the heart without disturbance. Thus the cleansing of the Gundicha Mandir was conducted by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to let us know how the heart should be cleansed and soothed to receive Lord Sri Krishna and enable him to sit within the heart without disturbance. Nishinga Mandir Bhitara Bahir Shodila Kaneka Vishrama Kori Nritya Arambila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also cleansed the Nishinga temple inside and outside Finally, he rested a few minutes and then began dancing. The Nrsimha Temple is a nice temple just outside the Gundicha Temple. In this temple there is a great festival on the day of Nrsimha Chaturdasi. There is also a Nrsimha Temple at Navadip where the same festival is observed as described by Murari Gupta in his book Chaitanya Charita. Charidike Bhaktagan, Korana Kirtan, Madhya Nritya, Koran, Prabhu, Matasimasam. All around Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all the devotees perform congregational chanting. The Lord, just like a mad lion, danced in the middle. Svetakampa, Vaivarnyashru, Pulaka Hunkar, Nija Anga, Duyage, Chalya Shrudar. As usual, when Mahaprabhu danced, there were perspiration. There was, as usual, when Mahaprabhu danced, there was perspiration, trembling, fading, tears, jubilation, and roaring. Indeed, the tears from his eyes washed his body and those before him. Charidike Bhakta Anga Koila Prakalan Shravanera Mega Jena Kore Varishan. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu washed the bodies of all the devotees like with the tears from his eyes. The tears poured like the rain in the month of Shravan. Mahaucha Sankirtane Akasha Barila Prabhura Udanda Nritye Bhume Kampa Hoila. The sky was filled with a great and loud chanting of Sankirtan, and the earth shook from the jumping and dancing of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Today is Sunday and we have our Sunday program. I'm going to stop here. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jaravaya Nama Jaravaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Juki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Chariyashta Thara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Tilak Neri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Chariyashta Thara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Nirmamacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Chariyashta Tara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajaka Chariyashta Tara Sadashi Shimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Bharga Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath, Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Prem Se Go, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasudeva, Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Vishvabaranya Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Prataparudra Ki Jai, Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Kushama Ashram Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Shyam Guna Radha Kunda Kalindi Yamuna Ju Ki Jai, Shri Purushottamadam Ki Jai, Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ju Ki Jai, Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shinna Shingadev Ki Jai, Bhakti Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Raman Mata Maharaj Ki Jai, all the assembled devotees Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.